I'm sure that brought some nostalgia, that title screen and that music. But this is Contra. It is a series that Konami developed and brought to the systems, multiple systems, and it started its life on the NES. It was known for one thing in particular, its brutally hard side-scrolling action, having limited lives, limited continues, and trying to get to the end of a level, or trying to survive, avoiding bullets firing at you, and being the best you could be. As said, it started on the NES, and it went on for multiple generations. We had other games, and then obviously many people got into the SNES games, Contra 3, the Alien Wars. This is another one that also many of you may be nostalgic for, remember playing both in single player and co-op, an experience that I'm sure you'll enjoy. I never really got into this series myself. I've never played Contra. I know about Contra, I know about the Konami code. Hell, people were wearing shirts with the Konami code. So I was never truly nostalgic about it. Even as generations went on, it went on to the PlayStation 1. They tried to change up the formula. It was mostly a side-scroller shooter. They wanted to try and up the ante with extra generations of gamers and gaming in general. So they changed up formulas. Maybe you liked what they did with the changes, or maybe you didn't, but as each generation went on, you have to change it up. You want to make sure your new audiences and old audiences have the same experience. So this was the PS1 gameplay and Saturn gameplay. They kind of went with this 3D approach, and then with the PlayStation 1 sequel, they decided from the same developers to mix it up a bit. They kept side-scroller shooter sections intact, but also wanted this idea of a 3D exploration later on as well, to give once again an idea of two different methods of gameplay and maybe change up the Contra formula. This is a series known to many and enjoyed by many. What did they do with the PS2 version, I'm guessing you're wondering if you've never seen it before? Did they go full 3D with that as well? Well, they kept 3D models and 3D characters, but decided to stick with the old method of Contra. The whole PS2 gameplay experience is on a 2D plane. Maybe they thought it was best for the audience, it played better maybe, this 2D aspect, and this was my first jump into Contra. This was how I was going to experience it, and how I was going to truly appreciate the run and gunner aspect that was Contra. So if you've never known my video formats, after I give you the brief introduction, I'm going to show you my Let's Play videos into different clips and segments with my commentary. If you don't know much about my channel, apart from this one video you've clicked on, I am a console challenge runner. I collect PS2 games, I'm trying to beat all PS2 games, trying to get to the credits in one form or the other, and maybe sometimes going beyond that to truly get the value or truly see the end of all the PS2 games I play. With Contra Shattered Solider in particular, I've been told about this game before starting the challenge. People told me about how there are endings, good endings, bad endings, and I was ready for the challenge. Contra, I've known in the past, as I said earlier on in the video, is culturally known for being a challenging game. I knew this too well when this was going to come up in the challenge, and was very much prepared for what the game had to offer. This was my first Contra experience. The only run and gun I've ever played besides this beforehand was the Metal Slug series. I'm good at Metal Slug 1, but then the rest I'm quite bad at. The muscle memory of those games I'm not as good at. And I was very much ready for this game in particular as well. Contra is a side-scroller shooter for the PS2, and this one in particular, if you are huge and know about your Contra games, this is the first game in particular where there are no power-ups. The weapons that you have are at your disposal to begin with. As you can see here, I'm switching between the three weapon types. You can hold down the button and charge up the attacks, or you can just hold down the normal fire as well to do a basic fire. With these weapons at hand and then down to your base skill, you have to get through stages with limited lives and limited continues. Yes, this game is old school in arcade design. You start the game from the go with 3 lives. As you can see in the top left up there now, 1p equals 0, 2. Technically you have 3 lives, you have 2, then 1, then 0, run out of them, and you have continues. And Contra is punishing, it always has been punishing. Lose all your lives and you have to continue. As you can see here, we have so many limited continues, and then you have to continue not from where you die, but at a middle point that the developers have decided to pick for you. There is only a beginning, a middle, and at some point, with your limited lives and continues, you have to get to the end. As said before, this is old school difficulty arcade design. There are no save states, there are no save in betweens. It's either we get to the end with our lives and continues intact, or we have to do it all again. This might sound like a cursed, horrible, difficult nightmare for some, especially when you consider this was on real hardware at the time. I'm playing this on real hardware. No save states are used through my runs. So people, when they had this on their PS2 systems, would have to, as the classic meme saying goes, get good. If you don't do better, you don't perform better, you're going to have to do this again and again and again to truly get to the end of each stage one by one. And as you start going through, this is the first stage in particular for me, I try and go further and further each time with my lives. But I'm learning every time, I'm dying. It is a little bit frustrating maybe to some. I have to keep dying and learning through boss fight after boss fight, encounter after encounter. There's something very bittersweet, at least for me, when I take on games like this. Don't get me wrong, it feels punishing, but it feels so good when you do get to the end of a stage, do finally defeat an enemy, and I finally got my first mission complete. It's nearly an hour into the run, and I'm given my results screen. As you can see here, I got 91% hit rates, I used up 2 continues, and I got an overall rating at the end of 71%. Hit rate is rated on the amount of enemies you kill, continues and lives you lose are taken away from that percentage, and then you're given a grade at the end. Every time you beat a level, you're given a little cutscene, a little tiny little bit of story, and we are able to carry on and do another stage. Upon defeating that mission, we move on to the next mission, and we keep our lives and our continues and have to carry on. This might sound alarming to some people. It's like, oh my god, what? So, wait, I've got to keep my lives and continues and then carry on? This seems like really notoriously difficult. And maybe that is another thing that can be frustrating for some people as well. There are a lot of pratfalls, there are a lot of tricking the player, there's a lot of things that you have to be muscle memory about, learning when you die to things that you don't know what you're going to die to. Run out of continues, end over, end of the run. What happens when you run out of continues, and what happens then once I've beaten the first stage. There are alarming things that some people might think, what happens next? When you do end a run, when you run out of all your lives and continues, you save your game if you want, you keep all your data, your play time, the amount of attempts you've done, and then you go and select, once again, another attempt on the one player mode. What I didn't mention to you though was that there was a mission select screen just then. 1, 2, 3 and 4 are all selected from the beginning. So I've learned how to play level 1, but don't need to play level 1 again to get to level 2. Now with my knowledge of level 1 as best I can, I decided that's great, let's go and start doing level 2, learning level 2 and start understanding what the enemies, the bosses, the different bullets and the different positions I need to be in to make sure that I can now beat level 2 as well. And so that is the gameplay loop of Contra Shattered Solider. It's a lot like a boss rush, this game, where you go through the levels and then another big enemy turns up, another enemy with a huge health bar, another enemy that will have multiple attacks, multiple AoEs. You've got to constantly go through and find the sweet spots, the right weapon to deal with the right weapons they're throwing at you, hiding in the right spots on the screen and avoiding damage and losing those precious limited lives we have. It's a game by learning, by dying, by doing constantly. In a spot where you hid before, it's no good. You learn to do better the next time. You learn that you should be standing here to avoid an attack that will took you out the last time. Very much, I guess the best comparison to this, if you want a modern take of this, is like Cuphead, where Cuphead took on multiple bosses and you took on and learned different attack patterns, different ways. The only thing about Cuphead was you had one boss fight instance and then could continue to do it again and again and again. In Contra Shattered Solider, you have one attempt to go through a level and have to learn these boss fights through the level. If you fail, you're going to have to redo the level again at different checkpoints or maybe entirely to get better at the experience. There are 4 stages to choose from. You can choose to play them in any order, and as each stage gets completed, you may be able to start mastering and learning these attack patterns yourself, feeling better about yourself, feeling more confident, going, yeah, I can do this stage better now, I know how these bosses go, this is easy, this one's fine, I don't need to work on this level anymore. Oh, and then another time you go, oh, hang on a minute, I need to learn this boss battle more, I better be better at this stage, I better pick this one from now on. But the most important thing is that every time we beat a level, we get a mission complete. Mission completes is important because if we don't get all 4 stages as a mission complete, we can't progress. We can't unlock stage 5. Yes, there is a stage 5 and it can only be unlocked and we can only continue with this stage 5 when we have perfected, survived and not run out of lives and continues on all previous 4 stages. The real kicker though about stage 5 is that we've had to defeat all 4 stages beforehand with our limited lives, limited continues to get to this point. However, now, if we die on stage 5, we lose the ability to continue on stage 5. This is when the game starts to get a little bit harsh on the gameplay learning loop and ways we need to beat the game. Once you die, it's game over, you lose all your lives, you lose all your continues, you have to start from scratch at the beginning, beating all 4 stages again, and trying to unlock and get to stage 5. So this is what Contra wants from you to get to the credits of the game. It's demanding. We need to, as I said before, successfully beat 4 missions without using all our resources up and learn and get to the end of stage 5. With that would be our desired end. This is supposedly, people are starting to say to me, oh, there are definitely credits at the end of stage 5. You got to get to the end of that course and then you'll be able to beat it. This took 4 streams to do, and I will now show you my journey of the 4 days of this game that I spent on, how I decided to do it, how I coped with it, my steps through and through each part of each day of each progressive playthrough, and what I decided to do when we got to the credits, and my true test and my sheer willpower to try and push forward more and more as the game asked for more and more. With the start of my challenge stream for this game in particular, as you can see, I set the difficulty level to normal. I always go the middle ground level. There is an easy mode, but I will talk about easy mode later on as the issues with easy mode if you did want to take on this game anyway. But yes, this was the settings we went with. I decided to change the player 1 character, which would be me, to Lucia, just for like playing as her. And this was the setup we had. This was ready to go. I was ready to learn the ins and outs of Contra and try and be good at the game. And with day 1, I'm learning how to play the game. I'm seeing how I'm dying really easily, how enemies move, what I've got to do to survive, getting absolutely destroyed by levels, and going through my continues like they're credit munching me in a simple arcade situation. Like I said earlier on though, it's all limited. I've had to learn by dying, constantly rinsing and repeating, and learning these levels inside out. It's the only way we're going to truly experience and get past levels, and the first few hours really are the most gritting moments. If anyone took this on, you're learning everything about this game. And even if you watched videos, I'd say video guides and everything on this, I'm sure your own muscle memory and how you can react to situations is going to be really different to how, you know, watching a video and then applying it to you doing it over and over again. Like anything, really, you get better by repeating, rinsing and repeating, rinsing and repeating. And these gameplay loops are important for our first runs. We have to learn where enemies spawn, how enemies react, what takes us out, and then learning by not dying to it the next time. It's just something that you don't know how to react to with greater focus, greater timings, and knowing where to land and what to deal with. You get further and further along in the level. Your lives are intact, and you are doing the other important thing, which is working out how to increase that hit rate. Hit rate at the moment wasn't too important, but later on is a vital part of if you're wanting to fully experience and fully get to one of the goals that this game has to offer. Bosses keep coming as we keep going on for our first day, learning where to go, where to jump, where to keep myself positioned, how attack patterns go. It's frustrating, but the more times you do it, the more times you feel better, and you start understanding how these bosses act and want to deal with you, and you have to counteract against that and try to prevent yourself from getting killed by these annoying objects. My attempts are not the best. I do deal with the enemies, but at the same time there's a lot of sloppiness. My vital life pool does start going down, but I'm learning. That's the thing that the game wants you to do. To learn and to learn and to learn. Patterns, safe spots, killing, and this whole first day was about that. It was basically my open course, my first day at school. Learning how to really be a Contra player and how the devs wanted me to be. The grind can be real though, and I understand what you're saying or thinking while you're watching me do this. Look, it's hard. You only have 3 lives and 3 continues. It's pretty rough. It's going to be really challenging. But the developers do have a silver lining to you working hard, researching it, and continuously trying to grind to get to the end of this game. Every so often you're given an extra life. The more hours you put into the game, the extra lives you gain. So at the start, when you put the disc in on a fresh save file, you're given 3 extra lives. 2, then the 0 count. But as you continue playing, you can unlock 3 additional lives. I mean, you can have up to 6 during your Contra runs. Sadly, there isn't a way to unlock more continues, which is annoyingly the more crucial thing you need for this game. But there is at least a silver lining behind all this grind, challenge, and push. We can get more lives to learn levels more, and at the end of my first day of streaming, I had unlocked an extra life, meaning now there was now a potential chance after researching and doing all the levels, maybe I could finally do a run where I beat all 4 levels successfully with lives and continues still intact. This was the end of my first day. Thinking about it, I would come in fresh again, and now with more resources, maybe day 2 would be a better day for progressing and getting to that level 5 beat that we wanted. Day 2 dawned, and it was time to now really get good. I had some vague idea about what the first 4 levels had in store, what the enemies were like, where the enemies were placed, the boss patterns, trying to survive and keep my lives intact. Today was a day where I had to try and do better. I had to be able to perfect streaks and a route to get to mission 5. So that's what I started doing. I was able to now pick missions I was not confident in, or missions where I was losing lives, or I thought the randomness or how I played the level was going to go, and went that way. Mission 2 in particular for me was one of my weakest levels, so with the lovely ability to be able to pick and choose the first 4 levels in any order, I was able to pick Mission 2 and start with this. There are a few mistakes I usually make at the beginning of this level, and thus by doing so, I could reset the entire run, not waste any lives, and get good. The important thing about day 2 was learning what I did from the first day 1 playthroughs. I was now being more confident, I was placing myself in the right areas, I was taking out enemies and bosses far quicker, knowing the right weapons, the right things to charge, the right attacks to use, and going from defeating bosses and taking ages to wiping them out before they could really do anything to me. This rewarding experience, I don't feel like everyone will truly embrace, but it really, if you can just get that drive, that ambition, you really want to better yourself. My best way to describe it to the people that might have done it would be something like Dark Souls or Elden Ring for a more modern take of what this game does. In those games, you're fighting a boss or bosses and you're losing maybe multiple times and getting frustrated. The attack patterns, the movement, where you've got to be, their special attacks, their AoEs. But then you start being better, you start feeling a part of the game when you do master it, and eventually when you defeat that boss, you feel like you're the bee's knees, you're on top of the world, and that's the same drive this game gives. Keep pushing and pushing and pushing, better yourself, and eventually you just feel like you're doing so damn well you want to keep going. And very early on into our first real run on our second day, I achieve it. I am able to go through my set of 4 missions I decided to go for and finally experience mission level 5. As said, as the introduction and showing you the basics of the game, I have to learn how to be better at this stage without able to practice it. There are ways to practice missions, but one of the more harsh things this game has as a gameplay element is I can only practice a mission that I complete. So the only way I'm ever going to master and complete this level is by beating it in the first place. Kind of rough, but at the end of the day we're only trying to get to the end anyway of this level, so bit by bit I've got to learn how to defeat this stage. And in particular, one of the first bosses really was screwing me over. This snail tank explosive weapon thing. I'm still learning how to fight against new bosses, but this one in particular had some incredibly evil patterns. It shoots rockets in the air, I didn't know how to deal with that, and then there's this deadly bubble attack, where if you shoot bubbles it inflated, and you had to avoid them to not get blown up. At the same time, if you got run over by the ATV tank, I was also going to die. So I had to learn more about this stage bit by bit. And the harsh thing, as I said before, is I don't know how to avoid attacks still. I'm still learning. And I lose and die from it. And sadly, my first attempt was a quick one, and I had to redo the whole run again. But with sheer determination, I go back at it again. It's what the game wants from me, and I will damn well give it back what I need to do. We haven't even got any credits rolls anyway still, so I have to do this. The only way I'm going to get credits is by keep on pushing. There's still more to it, and as I learn and play more, I start avoiding the evil snail's attacks, and I'm able to progress more into this very winding and very notoriously stressful level where I have everything on the table and have to test myself and push myself further and further. There are even some throwbacks to some old bosses from other Contra games. I didn't know about this myself, but someone said that this boss in particular later on in the level is a throwback to one of the other Contra stages, and it's a pretty easy one. Luckily, I learned a little sweet spot while during that run, and I move on to the next part of the final stage. To say that this game isn't also stressful as it is demanding, though, is an understatement. As I keep going with everything I've got, I still am just learning, struggling, wondering what every boss, what every attack, what every move they do gets thrown at me, where I have to be, and it is a painful learning curve. I have to just keep going and hope for the best. As it goes on and on and on, I'm dying from things really frustratingly and having to just become the Contra player I have to be here to defeat the bosses and keep on going through these stages. But I do get annihilated. The boss fights and the attack patterns do get more and more stressful. And as the stage 5 goes on, as I'm using up my lives that I've desperately tried to save up from my perfected runs in stage 1 to 4, I'm slowly having to lose lives and lose continues to try and learn. It is quite a challenging thing, but eventually defeat what I would thought would be the antagonist in the final part of this stage. But no, even more stuff gets thrown at me, and I'm just suddenly thrown into the lion's den. I've got to suddenly quickly react and learn and apply myself to this new area and just hope that I survive, hope that I don't die with my... As you can see here, I had 0 lives at this point. I didn't know how this fight went on, and I just had to keep on going. There's a little bit of panic, there's a little bit of fight or flight, but what else was I meant to do? The next enemy comes at me, I deal with the ads, and I'm able to defeat that one as well. And then it keeps on going again. And I'm wondering what the next boss does. What do I have to do to deal with it? And I just do what I do best in this game. Just keep shooting, keep pewing, and hope that the next one I'm fighting against falls and dies. This run was going pretty well so far though. I was learning and slowly defeating every enemy and new boss that's coming at me. But then sadly, everything has to come to an end, and I died for another run. I was a little bit shocked. I have a little sigh, and I realized that I have to go in again. And it takes another couple of hours, and then another run comes my way. I make it again, more lives intact this time, trying to get to that point where I was before and bettering myself. The drive was there. I felt like I could do more. And then another fight happens. It is an incredible boss rush, this final stage, Mission 5. I was getting absolutely tested here. Every new monster I had to learn just when stuff was coming at me. Jump, dodge, avoid, and just keep shooting and hoping that the next enemy I was fighting was the last. I was truly getting satisfied though. As I was moving on, I was killing enemies and I was getting through more bosses. But I was losing lives at the same time. I wasn't really fully good or confident at the fights in this, and I just had to keep going. And sadly, as it went on, more and more enemies were doing more and more crazy things that I had to be better at, had to be perfect at. It was hard, it was really, really testing, and I had to learn by doing. So with our sheer will, I go once again for another run. Every run takes about an hour to get to stage 5 to truly show you how testing it was. But I defeated a boss, and yet another one shows its literal ugly face. This boss is a throwback to another Contra boss, I was told. I think it's from Super Contra or something on the Mega Drive. Sorry, I don't know my Contra lore, but like I said before, this was my first Contra game. Either way, what I was more worried about was making sure that I was staying alive, and the thing that I was fighting wasn't going to be living anymore. There were a lot of things going on. There were tentacles, there were projectiles, there was areas I had to avoid, all while hanging on a rope and really making you limit your hitbox. This boss really was truly testing me. But after trial and error, something finally happened. Oh, fucking hell. What next? With a sigh of relief, I had finally beaten Mission 5. 12 hours of learning slowly again and again and again got me to the point of victory. There isn't too much story in Contra, but it finishes on Mission 5 with Lance cowering in pain. We have been after Lance for a long time. He has been deceived by other factions, and when we finally think we are near the end, we have achieved everything, he decides to tell us some dying words that really start to confuse us. He mentions another person, they. And then with that, a cliche, "I will see you in hell," and fades away into a puff of smoke. We're left confused both as the players and the characters themselves, and then suddenly, something in space activates. This big orbital laser starts focusing down on the Earth, or whatever planet this may be, I have no idea, and shoots down a gigantic nuclear beam onto an island. I'm imagining the island we were on, and absolutely vaporizes it.
Oh,
And
that's
then
the bad ending.
the credits
we
roll.
got credits. Oh man.
Now,
So
I
to
was
get the
confused.
So to get the good
I was at a
ending,
loss
I need
here.
to get an A on everything.
I knew there was a bad ending,
man.
and I had just achieved the bad ending. For many people, this is it.
Oh, do
I got
go for
credits. I should call it
it?
GG.
Do I go for it?
But there was something eating away at me, as you can see. I didn't feel like I had truly beaten Contra, and I was left in a huge dilemma. Once the credits were fully rolling as well, we were left with this final bit of dialogue.
The target, Galga Archipelago, has been destroyed. No signs of life in the 60-mile radius. And so we have closure, or should I say we have a new beginning. A new beginning of a world that we hold in the palm of our hand. Mahahaha. Is stage 5 in
Even
practice.
this, I felt like the game was teasing me.
You can now
I'd
Mission
unlocked
5 in
the
training.
ability to train on Mission 5 mode though as well finally.
You can
Like I
now
said
enter
before,
the database.
beating it means you can now train on Mission 5, and I was able to now practice on the weak points, especially some of the boss fights on Mission 5, to better myself, and if I really wanted to go for it, try and achieve the true purpose to carry on and get true ending in this by getting an A rank on stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So with the tools at my disposal, I thought why not at the end of my day 2 stream, I might as well practice Mission 5 and see can I understand the boss patterns, the fights, the styles, and do better and save and conserve my lives. If I was gonna go for this true ending A rank run, preserving lives was another really important aspect. As I will explain later, grades and hit rate are very important. To get an A rank on any stage, you need a hit rate or percentage finish rate of 85% or higher to get an A. To do that, it calculates your hit rate, so all the enemies you've killed, plus also how many continues and lives you've used. This goes for all the missions all together. You need an overall A rank if we're going to go for this true mission. So here's the results screen. Hit rate is at 91%, but I continued twice early on in my run on my first attempts, so I lost 10% per continue. So you need to realize all of this while going for your runs. This is where you really have to think if you want to invest for the true ending or not. Losing lives also makes you lose 2% per time, so if you went and killed everything on screen, if you calculated it this way around, a hit rate of 100%, killing everything in a game would get you 100%. You were then able to die 7 times, that would give you minus 14%, and if you never continued on a stage, you were allowed to die 7 times with no continues, killing everything on screen to get an A. This was the minimum in one situation, but there were other ways you could juggle it. There were other ways you could plan it out. There were other ways you could make sure that you had enough percentage to make sure that you had an A rank on every run. The dying 7 times though wasn't going to be an issue, because by the end of day 2, I only had the ability to go onto levels with up to 4 lives. So by that means and that logic, if I died 4 times on a level, I get minus 8%. At the end of the day, what I had to do instead was master levels and make sure I wasn't continuing in the middle of levels. That is the biggest punishment towards getting an A grade. Not so much dying. Dying is kind of okay. There's a kind of breathing room for it. But continuing meant that you'd then have to be pretty solid with your late game on a continuation of a stage. You can only die twice, because that would mean minus 10% for the continue, plus minus 2% per life lost. That's also including if you actually achieved the 100% hit rate. As you're noticing here as well though, there is a loophole with continuing on a stage if you're not happy with an A rank run. If you press start and say retry, that doesn't count as a continue. Meaning if you're good with your continues and manage your continues, you're able to, if you don't feel confident in your run in the middle of a stage, press start and restart the stage again. That doesn't count as a continue. Instead, you're restarting the entire level again and starting from the beginning. So there is that as well. If you feel like you're confident but your run wasn't good the first time, you can sacrifice a continue, a credit, to try again. Anyway, with all this at hand, was I going to consider and actually try the true challenge of getting the true ending of Contra Shattered Solider? You can even hear for yourself my hesitation into investing into this challenge. But you know what? I have got credits, so I can throw in the towel eventually, but I will give it a damn good run next stream. I'll go for good ending runs. I will go for some good ending runs. But we have got credits either way. But I'll stop the timer. I'm not calling it a beat yet, as much as we could. I will give it a damn good go of trying to get an A rank on that last level. The challenger within me wanted me to continue. The blood in my veins gave me the urge to push on. And deep down, there was a part of me that wanted to do this. And so day 3 was coming. So with the start of day 3, I had to come up with a much better battle plan. My plan was, if I was going to truly go for this A rank run, is to play levels from my weakest to my strongest in order of where I know I'm losing lives the most to the levels I'm more confident in. And I had a vague idea of the route I was going to go with after the strengths from my last 2 days, and it is the route I do stick with throughout my playthrough after I do feel very happy in the skills of achieving this goal. So with my battle plan in mind, this was the route I decided to go with. My first level was going to be Train Stage 2. This is the one where I usually lose the lives at the very beginning of the stage, so it made sense to do this one first. This is where I do most of the silly mistakes, jump at the wrong time, dodge at the wrong time. It was the best attempt of the start of the challenge and the run to do this because it's where I did my foolish mistakes more than anything. Next, I decided to go with City Stage 3. This stage is also quite evil, not as evil as Train, but City also has some really annoying enemies. The biggest problem is that there are loads of fast-paced enemies that jump up at you. There's a lot of ninjas on this stage. There's also a load of bosses that can really easily screw you over. So with that in mind, I had the right mindset, the right skills, the right abilities to get through stage 3 and avoid all these crafty enemies that definitely throw themselves at you constantly, that want to take away those precious lives that I need to save for the later stage of the run. For the third stage and for the main second half of this run from stages 1 to 4, I go with Fortress. Fortress and Sea Base are the 2 stages I'm much better at, especially Fortress stage 1. It's basically the tutorial stage. You have to get this is where the game throws you in really, and it's mostly just run and gun with a few bosses that you do need to focus all your attacks on to make sure you get the hit rate percentage. Especially being aware of stage 1 Fortress, there's a boss in the middle of the playthrough where it has multiple arms and multiple hit points. Obviously you need to destroy each of these hit points because it gives you 2% hit rate. There are multiple arms and multiple different devices you need to destroy. If you ignore all of these, you're going to basically screw yourself over getting an A rank anyway. It's quite a deceiving part of trying to go for A rank. You can't just rush through and destroy the purple gems in the middle of the robot. That is your main goal. You need to destroy those things that are floating on the spot. If you destroy them, the boss dies instantly. But we can't do that. It's, once again, like I said, a very sneaky, clever concept that the devs have done, where if I want to get this A rank, I'll need to destroy every single part of it before I can carry on. These runs are going well though on day 3. I already had pretty much damn good muscle memory, and during my attempts thus far, I was already achieving A ranks. I was doing well with not dying at all, and also keeping up the best hit rate I could. I didn't follow guides for any of this, so I didn't know where everything was to destroy, and I think there's some really sneaky destroy points to get 100% hit rate on some levels. There's only one stage I truly do ever get 100% hit rate on, and it is the C base, but that didn't really bother me. If I wanted to go for S ranks is when I would need to worry about true 100%. I'm only going for A, and I was doing a damn good job of getting the A ranks at this point so far. So with C base as well, the final of the 4 missions, I achieve another victory. I had just done what I did in day 2, complete all 4 stages back to back. But not only that, I had kept up that beloved A rank that we had already wanted to make sure we could get to the good ending storyline. Now with stage 5, my true test and challenge was about to begin. This was where I had to pull all the stops and make sure I got that A rank I needed to unlock the next part of the true run. And there are times during the stage 5 fight where I'm not confident in myself. I'm losing health and I'm thinking, this isn't going to get me an A rank even if I do attempt it. As I die, I could try and continue, but I wasn't confident enough that, one, after the 10% debuff, I was going to be able to survive with 2 lives. So for my decision itself, it was better for me to retry and beat this stage with 4 lives. It was a risk, but a risk I was willing to take to try and get an A rank on this stage. But after perseverance, risk, and deciding to go for another attempt on this level, this finally happened on day 3 during my run.
Some silly mistakes. Oh man. Oh, if only I had another credit. That's the run I need.
We had achieved a decent A rank run finally, but at the cost of using all of my credits.
Oh my god, I got to...
So what was next? So now with all that said and done, Lance was defeated, and the cutscene changes as long as we kept a consistent A rank. Instead of Lance swearing to his grave that we're all doomed and, you know, they are behind all of this, he reveals their master plot. He reveals to us that there actually has been aliens behind a whole massive different scheme. And he has been a part of it and been manipulated by this plot that has been going on through the time. With this lore dump, it doesn't save Lance though. Sadly, Lance does die during this extra cutscene, this timeline change, as you could say. He infected himself with an alien, that's why we were fighting multiple aliens in stage 5, with the alien embryo inside of him. Instead now, at least he's revealed the plot to us. We can now try and stop the beings that have been involved in what's been going on. And it's time to swear revenge and try to avenge Lance, who has been a long-time friend of Bill. Indeed. So with all that, there was another stage after stage 5. Welcome to stage 6, or mission 6. There was still more to be done, and straight away, I was already thrown into a fight where I had to learn how to do the patterns, what to do to avoid damage, and how to survive. The game wasn't messing around, and it was once again the stage 5 situation all over again, where I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the enemy was doing, I didn't know how the enemy was going to react, and I didn't know what I needed to do to be in safe spots, safe zones, and wipe out these enemies that were newly spawning and trying to take me out. It's quite a difficult realization, especially more to the fact that with this, and dying, I was going to be put in a far, far graver situation. That grave situation being I was out of credits and would now need to do stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 before I had a chance of practicing and beating level 6. As I said earlier, this really is a challenge among challengers if you want to do this legitimately. There is you can save state and then this is a completely different challenge. You can save state on a level, keep learning it, keep fighting it, and eventually win, and it becomes a much more effortless challenge. But we weren't doing that on this. No, I was going for the true gen experience. Real hardware, no save states, not looking up videos of bosses and how to take them on. I was doing this as legitimately as possible and trying my best to get to that true ending from my own wit, my own grit, and eventually, hopefully, my sheer determination to get to that desired, cherished moment that very few people, I bet, could ever boast they had reached themselves. So with my sheer determination and sheer force, I do get back to stage 6 after another successful long run. I have some credits this time because, as I said before, I get better and better. But every time I'm dying to more annoying phases, more annoying patterns, I still am having to learn and getting destroyed by each new boss phase as it continues. This helicopter transforms into a giant mech, and I had to learn not only the helicopter, but the mech phase as well afterwards. But we do defeat the mech after a little bit more practice, and we get to sail away off into the distance to see just what else this Mission 6 had to offer. And things were just about to get a hell of a lot more weirder. So once we go through a weird portal, we end up discovering these 3 evil masterminds behind the whole plot of the game. These people are shown off in one cutscene earlier on in the game, but honestly, it's very confusing what they do. You know there's something ominous about them, you know they have some ulterior evil moments, but now they truly are going to show off what they were up to. There's been this mystic relic that they found, and they're going to use the power from it to now completely reveal to us what they wanted to do with it. However, the problem is when you do mess with a power of gods, as they say, maybe you shouldn't be playing with God, as they too can't control the power, and instead we are presented with a big evil alien. And when I said things are about to get weirder, the next few stages of fights really do get weirder, but also a hell of a lot more challenging. You're thrown into another fight, and once again, like I said, you've got to learn as you go on. There's orbs being thrown at me, there's attacks being thrown at me, and I'm getting overwhelmed. It was crazy. I didn't know what was going on. I continue from the middle this time because I need to practice, and the middle starts you off against this alien fight. But this first fight is really, really harsh. As I said, you're trying to learn on the fly. You don't know what's going on. At least I didn't know what was going on. So positioning myself and shooting and hoping that I don't lose any lives from this guy is all I can really do. The pink orbs, though, in particular, are really the evil part of the fight. Nonetheless, I do achieve this, and like many other forms on stage 5, this guy has alternate forms. The next form being a big, giant alien frog. Yeah, you know, just an alien frog. I'm sure we can deal with this guy now. Panic starts to set in, and once again, the game is throwing everything at me while I'm trying not to only do damage, but learn how to avoid and what I'm meant to do against it. It's overwhelming, honestly. Like, there's pressure, but also, I guess, a sense of drive. But I really didn't know what I was doing, and slowly learning more and more as time went on. This frog fight, I would say, once you know what to do, is simple, But until then, there's so many elements to this that make you panic and make you worried that you need to take your time with it. My flow for the frog fight does continue to be okay though, and I even defeat the frog. And yet again, it wasn't over. The frog transforms into another phase. We are now onto an evil jellyfish fight. If you thought you couldn't get any more zany right now, it was now this guy's turn. This one throws jellyfish at you, but when you shoot the jellyfish that you can get hit by and hurt, they also leave a poisonous, like, spicy trail, I guess is the best way of saying it. But once again, I'm just panicking, trying to position myself, and above all, kill the next boss that was against me. It's insane. There's so much I've got to do. I'm on my toes. I'm trying to make sure I'm not dying here, especially because this is my last life now. I've got 0 lives, 0 continues. But I defeat this guy as well. It keeps going. We're on to the next stage now. I'm feeling confident. But what was next to be thrown at me? And with that, we now were fighting a giant amoeba. And I died. Without even being able to learn, the next fight has a majorly bullshit element where if you shoot at it with the wrong gun, it will shoot back a massive blast of water at you. I'd lost due to not knowing this, but I was a little bit annoyed with this fight because I died through learning from one of the evil counterattacks this enemy had without any real chance of doing anything about it. Still, it was a good run. We learned a lot of bosses and I learned more patterns with my continues and lives that time. I felt okay, but still, it was really annoying. I was going to have to go in again if I wanted to truly beat this boss. We give the stage another go. I go for another run, and another hour in, I'm at the same point again. I'm at the alien phase of stage 3. Problem is, I foolishly used up all my lives and continues this time with some bad RNG and bad runs. But I was here again. Could I defeat the frog this time? Could I learn more about the stages? But I foolishly die and lose to it.
Damn it.
And I was, once again, tested. So at the end of Days 3 stream, I had to think about stuff. And this is the actual thoughts.
What a night. I mean, I'm getting better. I'm feeling I'm so close to this game. I said I was gonna give this one go and just try and go for true credits. But I can taste it. I can taste victory. I need to just keep going. I need to just keep going now. I need to keep going and just go for the true ending. I'm so close. I might as well go.
As you heard there, even then, the drive was in with me there. I knew I was perfecting these runs, and I was so close to getting to the end of this stage 6 to try and get an A rank that I had to keep going on. My idea of dropping this game after one stream, after getting the bad ending credits, had been gone, had been squanched. Forget all of that. There was now such a fire burning within me that I knew I could do it. As the hours went on, as I kept mastering, as I kept getting further into the game, my true ambition to get to the end of this game was really there now. I knew I could do it. I knew I had the power to do it. And that's, I don't know how, I can't describe what this game was doing to me, but it gave me that drive I needed. It was really, I could really feel the satisfaction that I needed from this game. And maybe one more stream would have done it. One more stream would get me this true ending that I wanted, I craved, I savored. I wanted it badly. And maybe in the next stream could be that sweet, succulent meal I needed. Day 4 was upon me then. And with everything I'd learnt previously from the previous streams, all my attempts, all my successes, all my failures, learning and developing as I went on and on and on, hopefully this was the stream to do it all. That's what I wanted to do. I had the full day of a stream to do this, so many runs could be attempted, and I was ready for it. Mission 6, I still couldn't fully research, fully attempt and practice yet. I had to beat it to practice it. So instead, every run I was going to get through an attempt, I had to slowly learn day by day by day. This was the day, though, that I really wanted to push hard for that, and this is how it was going to go. With that and my own willpower, let's see if I could get to the more important part, the final mission 6, and beat it finally. The stream was going as you would expect. I was starting to really oil up the gears, and my first run to get to mission 6 failed pretty miserably, and I didn't even get to the points where I needed to learn more. Still, every run would take an hour. I still had plenty of time. Run 1 was pretty rough, and I didn't really learn much from it. But then later on, during this attempt, my next run goes really well. We get to the point where I'm at the jellyfish, and more importantly, I needed to know and experience more about the weird amoeba fight, which insta-killed me the first time I gave it a go. It was the next point I needed to research, learning how to do better, and that's what kept me going. And with the jellyfish fight, which I pretty much was mastering anyway, it's not exactly a difficult fight, it's more about your placement and where you are, I was ready to take it on again. And this time around, obviously not attacking with my charge move that I usually use in all my fights, because it was instantly killing me with its water blast. So I went with the second next approach. What I realized is that the amoeba has a weird protective shell on it, but then didn't realize it started spitting tracking balls, or tracking enemy projectiles, meaning now I was wondering what my next attempt against this would be. But we still had more credits on this run, so I was able to try and attempt the amoeba fight again. I didn't know how to attempt these, so I decided to foolishly go with an old idea, and it didn't pay off. I thought maybe if you let it float up a bit and charge a shot, you wouldn't get shot to pieces with the weird backlash acidic water, but stupid me, realizing that it still killed me off, I had wasted another attempt of learning how to defeat this boss. We were going to have to try again. So with another credit used up, it was time again, but this time I had a lot of lives at disposal. I went and had done a perfect run so far, so I had a lot of time to learn this fight and see exactly what to do. But it was still incredibly confusing and frustrating. All these projectiles keep coming at you, and the amoeba weird protective bubble will constantly try and protect that weird fleshy part that you got to shoot at. So you're going to have to watch out that you don't get shot by its projectiles, and also try and just blow up the little fleshy lump in the middle. But it constantly is trying to hunt you down as well. As you can see here, I'm getting cornered slowly by it, and eventually I'm going to get crushed by it if I don't take it out. But thank goodness, with my shock, I did it. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, was at the end of the fight, did I finally successfully defeated the final stage of Mission 6? But no, it keeps on going. We are thrown now into a weird flesh cage room with all these worm things and some weird thing in the middle. I was working out what I needed to shoot at, and then eventually I worked out that the thing in the middle is clearly what we need to kill. And as I started doing it, it was once again learning and panicking all at the same time how to win this fight eventually. It seemed that this was working well though, standing underneath this, and then suddenly all the evil worms suddenly started to attack me. So I started panicking and protecting myself and then going at it again. This time around, knowing that eventually the red things would protect it and attack you, and I was able to defend myself and be more prepared. The fight though does keep on going the same as is. I just keep crouching down, keep burning this fleshy cage, and every so often having to deal with the little blood vessels or whatever they were attacking at me. It seemed okay this stage though. Just take my time, patience every so often, little by little, chipping away at its health. I would eventually, hopefully, defeat this next phase of its boss fight. And after a few more crouch shot attempts, it was done. And my face really says it all. I was in a sheer deep shock. As you can hear, even as I'm learning what's happening, I was in a shock.
There's meant to be a stage 7 though, someone said.
So I knew about a stage 7 anyway, and I was waiting to see what happened. The amoeba blows up, and we fly away epically, but finally we are shown the true final test of Contra Shattered Solider. Frog Boy and Alien Boy have fused into one gigantic oceanic beast, and we need to take it on and survive this final ordeal. It wasn't over yet. I was getting thrown projectiles, I was having to learn, having to practice. Everyone was cheering me on in chat, but even then they realized it wasn't over yet. I had still more to do, and I was still learning more. And I'd run out of credits again. Even my reactions said it all.
Oh, I don't know what to do against that. There's more. Oh.
We had lost against Stage 7, but at least I had unlocked Mission 6 to train in finally. This game was going to be a true test to me, and there was still a final hurdle to get over. Still, with that in hand, I was able to practice on Mission 6, and I was going to do so. I wanted to master the boss fights, especially the amoeba one, to make sure that my lives that I needed and my credits I especially needed weren't going to be used up, as we had to keep the A rank overall rating at that point, otherwise we weren't going to be able to reach where we were trying to reach every time. So with the training mode at hand, I was wanting to practice this fight in particular. It was definitely my kryptonite of the Mission 6 run, and I had to get the right positioning, the right placement to deal with everything going on. And eventually I worked out a method that I thought would be best, not only to take out the boss, but to also take out the projectiles he constantly threw at me. And once I was confident enough and practiced enough on this, it was time to finally try and take this on. This really was it. It was a confident boost I needed. As you can see in my face, I thought, that's it, I've got the run, this is all I need to do. I'm gonna go for it. Let's take this boss on now. Let's take on this gauntlet and see if I can get to Mission 7 and beat what was actually going to be the final stage. So with practice, I was able to do it. I felt so good. You can see the buzz in me. I had loads of lives, loads of continues. I was back to where I was last time, and I was ready to take on this elusive Mission 7. I even was really doing well now. I was getting S rank clears sometimes. Even on the final stage, I was going basically no hit on one of the harder later stages of the game, and was able to pull it off. My confidence was overflowing. I had everything planned for this one. It all felt right. Even if I failed the first attempt, I had more continues, more lives. Surely this was going to be it. I was going to be able to nail this and get what I was craving. My life pool was huge, as you can see here. I was sitting at 4 plus my 0 lives, 5 lives. I felt like I could do this, but with my actual real attempt against this guy for a second time, I didn't know how to position myself to avoid any of his projectiles. Panic was setting in. My anxiety was through the roof. I was trying my best to know where to go and what to do, and it wasn't going well. I still had more credits, so I could keep on going, and surely, with all this at hand, I was able to learn and beat this adversary that had been stopping me from my very crucial win I needed from this stage. But even on my last credit, my last attempt for this run, sadly, it didn't work out.
That sucks.
It was heartbreaking. It was absolutely devastating to me. I felt like that was the run. There was so much going for me that I felt like it was going to be my crowning glory, but sadly it was not. As I was playing as well, we had more playtime. As you can see, I was at my 5 life total count with how long we've been practicing and been playing. So I just had to go again. My mind, my body, I was just in autopilot at this point. Nothing else could slow me down or stop me. I wanted to get this done. I needed this. And so we went in again for another run to get to that point of the level. And so, once another run was done, we were at the same point again. It was time to try and do this. And face this goddamn alien. And see if I could finally get my sweet victory. Don't know how to avoid that, no matter what how I ever approach it. Oh, fuck. Holy shit. That's a shaking so much.
It's just that simple.
Yes, let's go. Woo! Oh my god.
Look at the arse on that.
It's just that simple.
Yes! It felt so freaking good, man. There it was. The victory true credit roll. You get this if you get an overall A rank throughout all your playthroughs and complete Mission 7. The thing I worked so hard for, the grind, the practice, the training, the blood, sweat and tears had got me to this point. And I was still trying to think at the time of the ordeal I went through. My hands were sweaty. The muscle memory, the amount of inputs and jumping and everything I had to do to get to this. I couldn't believe it. But it was done. Very few people, I think, could ever truly get to this point, and I was now part of that great group. And just, it felt so good to do this without any cheats, any exploits, no save states. I had done it on real hardware and felt incredibly buzzed from it. A sense of euphoria was over, and I had defeated and beaten Contra Shattered Solider. And the final cutscene is a gloryful flight home where I see an open audience. My audience, the cheers, the applause. It was me coming home. A welcome return after working so hard and beating Contra. As the dust settled and my mind came to reality, I couldn't believe I'd done it. What a game it was. It's definitely not a game for everyone. You've watched me now, you've seen the struggle, you've seen the constant retries and attempts and the difficulty and everything you need to do to get to this point. Even just the bad ending is quite an investment in skill and attempts. I also mentioned at the beginning of the video the Konami code, and does it exist in this Konami game? It does actually. If you enter the Konami code or their version of the Konami code in this one, you can have 30 lives for normal difficulty. The only time you can get 30 lives without cheating is on easy mode. But the real ball breaker for easy mode is you don't even get to attempt mission 5 on easy mode to get to the credits. It's a real rough little thing. If you want to practice without knowing how to cheat, you can do easy mode and get stage 1, 2, 3, 4 practiced, but you're never able to get to stage 5 if you play on easy. It's a little bit unfair, I think, but it is what it is. Still, if you want to give this game a go without using save states but having lives and learning on real hardware, the version of the Konami code is here. Up, up, down, down, left, right, and then obviously A, B, but obviously their version is up, up, down, down, L1, R1, L2, R2, L3, R3. Input that, and you will then be able to have multiple lives, up to 30 lives for normal mode, and try and attempt it yourself. Still, if you liked the look of this game, I really do think you should maybe take this on. It's a very super satisfying shooter. Hell, if you want to really enjoy it but without the retries, the constant redos, and you just want to have an enjoyable experience, play it on emulator, add some save states. At least then you're not going to do the frustrating loop of having to retry it and having to spend another hour learning and doing over and over again. There's something very satisfying about this game. I don't know if it's just in its formula alone or if you just become absorbed in this universe that Contra does. Maybe that is it. Maybe I just got the Contra bug. That could be it. I needed it. Every time I got closer and closer. It was a real arcade experience at home. No holding back. No saving in between levels. You just had lives, continues, and had to get good and get to it. It was fantastic. And I had a great time with this. I'll always remember this game now. And especially, I can lie in bed at night sometimes and just go, I did that. I got a true ending. I don't always go for true endings, don't get me wrong. But sometimes in my playthroughs during this challenge I will. Sometimes I'll go for optional bosses. Sometimes I'll go for true secret endings. Sometimes I'll go for mission modes and optional extra content. It varies. Sometimes I want to be one and done with it, and other times something gives me that bite, that push, that urge to carry on. I loved Contra Shattered Solider. Don't get me wrong, like I said before, it's one hell of a crucially demanding and difficult game. But at the same time, what a game it was. Everyone, thank you for watching another long video. My true experience, my full play of Contra. I will also be uploading the true run if you want to watch it all unedited, the one final run on YouTube as well. But apart from that, I hope you all enjoyed my experience of this game. And until next time, thank you for watching another experience in my PS2 challenge. There's many more ups, highs, lows, true challenges and beats all along the way. And Contra was another hell of a ride I wanted to talk about and share with everyone else. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video, or maybe even in my next live stream. Take care, everyone.